now with a reaction to my open and all the developing news this week. Congressman Jim Jorden joins me now. All right, good evening, Congressman. Nice to have you back.
Good evening. Good to be with you, Judge.
Thank you. Listen, in addition to the crimes that it appears that Mccabbe is going to be charged with, that the Department of Justice has refused to give him a pass on, are there other charges that you think he'll be facing in this particular indictment?
Well, I mean, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. What I do know is your opening statement was right on target, and that we know Andy Mccabbe lied. Our entire justice system is built on people under oath telling the truth. And Andy Mccabbe didn't do that. We know he lied 3 times. And I will tell you this, Judge, we found out he lied because of whom? The Inspector General Michael Horowitz, a guy who is respected in this town, the guy who heads up the entire Inspector General's Association, the guy who calls the balls and strikes. So I'm looking forward to the Inspector General's next report as well to give us an even fuller understanding of what all took place when they tried to go after the President of the United States.
Well, I'm going to get into that in a minute, but I want to talk about Mccabbe. Now, what is amazing about Mccabbe is that he and Comey, as I showed in my open, they had a plan to take advantage of the chaos in the Trump White House to make sure that he didn't need, tell him he didn't need a lawyer, not to warn him that he could be charged for lying if he lied to federal investigators or FBI agents. He lied 3 times under oath, and the amazing part is this guy gets the opportunity to take it back. Whereas Michael Flynn, they said, no way we're going to give him his rights. They agreed to that ahead of time. So in addition to this clear a lie, all right, that he's going to be charged with, it appears that there are more things that might be coming from Durham, because Durham is investigating in Connecticut. And that the way it's done is Durham would keep his indictments, if he has any, under seal until all the indictments are ready. This suggests to me that the Durham may be done with Mccabbe if they're going to out Mccabbe's indictment. But they held it, so it may be sealed. Do you have any idea what's going on?
I don't, and we'll have to wait and see. But you make a great point. When you reference what Jim Comey said about how they tried to trap Michael Flynn and how they went after Michael Flynn, think about this, though. Just 1 month prior to that, or actually just a few weeks prior to that, they tried to do the same thing to the President of the United States. And Mr. Horowitz points this out in his most recent report. They go up to the Trump Tower meeting, and Jim Comey tries to trap the president while he's telling the president he's not even under investigation. Jim Comey, the guy who started this whole darn thing, Jim Comey, the guy who put Peter Strzok in charge, Jim Comey, the guy who allowed the dossier to be used to go get a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign in the first place, Jim Comey, who leaked memos to get the special counsel, tries to trap both Michael Flynn and the President of the United States, all while he's telling the president, you're not even under investigation. Jim Comey and Andy Mccabbe, these guys are problems, and it's great to see what we heard from the Justice Department yesterday regarding Mr. Mccabbe.
Well, and the other part of it that you didn't mention is the fracture in this country that was created because of Comey and Mccabbe.
3 years, Judge, they put us through this. But you're exactly right.
We are so on the same point. But for Comey leaking this nonsense to his buddy Richmond to give to the New York Times, a special counsel wouldn't have been appointed. And, you know, we wouldn't have gone through the hell that we've gone through in the $40 million bucks.
And remember those memos that he leaked. The very first memo he wrote was immediately after that meeting in Trump Tower meeting when as President-elect Trump, he goes out to his car, and he gets his car, and on a secure laptop starts typing out what he and the president talked about. They were trying to set up the President of the United States, the President-elect of the United States, while they were telling him he wasn't under investigation. This is the scary part. And this is why when Emmett Flood wrote the letter to the Attorney General, and he said, we would all do well to remember, if they can do it to a president, imagine what they can do to you and I. And so when you talk about blind justice and equal treatment, you are exactly right. That's what's at stake here.
Well, and you know, that shows, if anything, that the clear intent, you know, the intent that James Comey doesn't seem to understand when it comes to Hillary Clinton and emails. But the clear intent, they know the rules. They knew that you weren't supposed to lie. They didn't want to protect a 3-star general, or at least give him his rights. I don't want them to protect anyone, but you give them their constitutional rights. But let's talk about last night. The IG sends a letter to House and Senate Judiciary saying, my report is done. This is, I call it the big kahuna. All right, this is the big one. This one, Barr let Comey go on lying and leaking. This is where I think Comey gets the, gets the Attorney General, gets the Inspector General to say, Comey, you swore to a judge and you defrauded the FISA court and you were the conspirator. You were the head of this cabal that was to bring down a president. What do you think it's going to say?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. A couple things I hope happen. One, I hope Chairman Cummings and Chairman Nadler at least allow us to have a hearing on the findings that Mr. Horowitz has. Remember, they've scheduled no hearing for his report on Mr. Comey's leaks that came out 2 weeks ago. So I hope we have a hearing. Second, we're just going to have to wait and see. But I know this. Bill Barr, the Attorney General, he's looking at what needs to be classified, what doesn't. Bill Barr starts from the right premise. Remember what he said to the Senate Finance Committee a few months back when he testified. He said there was a failure of leadership at the upper echelon of the FBI. He said spying took place. There's a basis for his concern about the spying that happened. And then he used two terms that should scare us all to death. He talked about political surveillance and unsubstantiated, unauthorized surveillance.
That's
so
right.
He starts from the right premise, and we look forward to that investigation and that report at some point in the future as well.
All right. And, you know, I have to thank you, Congressman Jorden, because but for the work you did in the Freedom Caucus, we might not have known about a lot of this ourselves. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thanks for your work, Judge. Thank you.
All right.